Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Mike with Cornerstone Partners Realty here in Austin, Texas, with a little market update for you here on Friday, April 2nd, 2026. So, there's been a lot of discussion over the last several years about interest rates. It's certainly been a headline when you start talking about home buying and selling around the country, and I think it's kind of a headline grabber in a lot of ways. And I think oftentimes it acts as sort of an excuse in some ways as far as why homes are selling or aren't selling or that kind of thing. So I figured we would take a moment today to do a little experiment, just to give you a little more insight into how your mortgage payment would change. Obviously your mortgage payment is one of the most important things to a home buyer. Obviously they want to know, what am I going to pay every month? All right. So let's do a little experiment on what your monthly mortgage payment would look like at different interest rates. Now, what most people don't realize is over the last 3.5 years, generally interest rates haven't changed a whole lot. Mostly if you look here, you'll see that for since September of 2022, so 3.5 years, generally interest rates have been between 6 and 7, which is really on par for the average over the last 50 years of mortgage rates. Other people don't really understand or want to share that part as well, too, because they remember when we were back in the 2s and 3s during the crazy times of the pandemic in 20, 21, 22, that kind of thing. So generally, over the last 3.5 years, they've been between 6 and 7. They got a little above 7 for a little while. They got a little below 6 as of a month or so ago, but generally they're between 6 and 7. So if we plug in the median close price, so right now the median close price in the Austin MSA is around $412,000. So let's plug in $412,000 with 10% down. Let's leave out all of the HOA fees and property taxes and insurance and that kind of stuff, because that changes from neighborhood to neighborhood, house to house, that kind of thing, situation to situation. So let's leave that out for now. But let's look at what this does to our monthly mortgage payment rate at different numbers. So if you look here, this is what it looks like at 6%, okay? Pretty reasonable. Let's bump it up to 6.25% and see what that does. You can see that here. Now let's take a look at what happens when we plug in a 6.5%. So we went up by 0.5% from 6 to 6.25 to 6.5. And you can see what that monthly mortgage payment looks like here. Now what you notice real quick is for every quarter point of change in interest rates, and typically those take weeks or months to change, here in Austin, with the metrics that we're working with, it's about a $60 change. So your monthly mortgage payment would change by about $60, up or down, depending on which interest rate you get, 6, 6.25, 6.5. So to me, $60. So for most folks, $60 is one night out to eat. It's probably 7 or 8 expensive coffees, something like that. But when you think about a quarter point change, keeping all of the numbers the same, a quarter point change would only change your mortgage payment by $60 a month. And so now, extrapolate that over 0.25, 0.5, 0.75. So that's about $60, $120, $180 if you went all the way from 6 to 6.75, okay? And it typically takes months for it to change that much. So to me, the reality of what we need to understand is a quarter point change only changes my monthly payment by about $60. And I think for most folks, maybe it's one more night out to eat that we don't go to or we do go to, depending on how we got our rate figured out. But to me, $60 a month is not worth not building your wealth by buying that house now. We've talked to a lot of folks who want to wait, and they're like, no, I'm going to wait for interest rates to change. Well, they haven't changed much in the last 3.5 years. And so all those folks that have been waiting to build their wealth just for $60 a month in a lot of cases. It's food for thought for how we as real estate folks and how you as buyers and sellers might think about your next sale or your next purchase. All right, I hope that helps. If we can ever help you with any questions like this or like others and break things down to a really, really manageable explanation, give us a shout. This is what we do every day. All right, we'll catch you next time. Have a great week.